Elmer Hildebrand was born in Altona, May 10, 1937. He was raised on the family farm but didn't want to be a farmer. Seeing this, his father convinced him to finish high school instead. After graduation, he joined CFAM, a new local radio station, in 1957 as a salesperson. From these early days, Elmer took a very simple but effective approach to building a rural radio powerhouse with 40 stations, Golden West.
Well, I just kept doing what was in front of me every day. And so I started, as I said, I started selling ads, and pretty soon we had more clients and growing the company from that standpoint. And things were just a gradual transition. I was a writer, a salesperson, a manager, president and CEO, and it's sort of just a progression over the years. If you do what's in front of you every day, it's amazing what happens.
You know, Elmer, as an entrepreneur, is, a classic entrepreneur who came through difficult times. It wasn't just one success after another. Small town radio stations didn't always do well, but through it all, Elmer could see, and he had this vision that he could develop something more than others could see.
Elmer's vision was to build a network of stations that focused on the needs of the local community.
Well, originally the concept was to provide radio service to rural southern Manitoba in the late 50s, because there was no real radio service in this area. Our service to the community hasn't changed, but it's got better. And our whole process is creativity, and if we can imagine something, we can generally do it. And one of the biggest pieces of our stability is we like to hire local people, train them to the point where they have lifelong careers. And so, again, the entire idea of providing local service by local people who understand the community is a very powerful engine.
If somebody wanted to start this business today, they'd be pretty discouraged, because it would seem like it's not possible. Elmer never thought like that. He always thought that if we serve the community and do things the right way, in terms of our service to the community, we'd be looked after no matter what the size of the community. And so it's kind of played out in those 40 years, and certainly he's led the way with just being completely inspiring. He only sees opportunity, and has a magical way of sharing that, so we catch that. See, once Elmer decides we're going to do something, it's going to happen. And so it's fun to then just grab it and go for it.
Elmer has always believed that the key to building a successful, energetic, and thriving business is to hire young people.
He has hired a lot of young people. And again, these have been young people who didn't come from other radio stations. These were young people who came from high school in Altona or another rural community. And Elmer turned them into announcers, into salespeople, and into managers. And so he would have, I'm sure, a whole string of people who would say that he was a mentor for them.
He's big on young people. He gave us all an opportunity way before we were ready. And that, and you have to remember even now, he reminds us from time to time, where he says, no, don't forget, we need to take a chance on young people. He's the biggest champion. His favorite day is when we tell them that we've, appointed a manager and they're only 22.
Elmer was very involved in sports when he was a young man.
Elmer's a hockey player. Elmer's a goaltender. And he's a big fan of a team that hasn't come close to a cup in a lot of years. And so, I think he still admits he's a Toronto fan. But, and back to his way of dealing with it, once he's made a commitment, he's sticking with it. Yeah, he's still with them.
He was a goalie. At that time, he was heavier than he is now. So he was fairly quick on his feet, in spite of his weight. But when he lay down in front of the net, he would cover a big part of the net. So it was hard to score against him. He was elected to Manitoba a Hockey Hall of Fame as well as so he's very highly regarded in the sporting area.
Elmer is also very highly regarded in the community.
Elmer has for many years supported organizations that he really believes in, both financially and with his time. For the past few years, he's put an incredible effort into the Canadian Mennonite University. He's actually chaired the fundraising, and I think they're close to $14 million. He's provided not only financial resources, but his expertise to their organization. I think has been really helpful.
This whole region of southern Manitoba, known as the Pembina Valley, has benefited enormously by Elmer Hildebrand. If every community had a man of his stature and his persuasion, we do well.
Elmer likes to solve problems, and not just in business.
Two of the former shareholders that were at odds with one another, and this had gone on for years and years and years. Elmer doesn't like people being at odds. He gets problems fixed and resolved. So he continued to visit both of these parties on a regular basis and working towards some kind of a resolution of the problem. And so one day he could arrange that they would meet in the Fairmont Hotel in Winnipeg. And they were both of these fellows were fairly on an age. One was walking with a cane, the other with a walker. And he brought him in for a luncheon, and when they saw each other, they started to weep, and they asked for forgiveness, and they had a reconciliation, and it was beautiful. And Elmer was the catalyst. He was consistent with, he was friends to both of them, and he brought it to the point where they had a reconciliation. And it's a beautiful story, and that shows his nature. He's that kind of a person.
Elmer's formula for success is as simple as it is effective.
If you sort of do what's in front of you every day and try to do it a little better tomorrow, and then continue to have a vision for the future of what might be possible, then all kinds of good things happen. And so you have to rely on your imagination, your creativity, and believe in what you're doing. And if you do that, and if you have that, then, as I say, wonderful things happen.